Hi, I'm Linda Redhead, and I'm here to present to you the idea of the short course or micro lesson called An Introduction to Activities and Quality of Life. So, it is my thinking that other disciplines or departments working alongside these activity professionals, they're not always aware of the important role that they play in the life of the community that they serve in. And that's how this micro lesson came to be. And it starts out by detailing the basics of certification and how activity professionals influence the quality of life of the elder in long-term care. As I worked on this course, it expanded a bit. It got a little bit bigger than what I initially thought. And in the end, what I really wanted to do was just to try to keep it simple. And with that being said, let's go into the instructional design document. When I looked at the recommendations or the learning gap, initially I was really thinking more about staff who were primarily Spanish speaking, who would possibly benefit from an introductory short course that is converted to a Spanish format, to give those people an idea of what activity professionals are and what they do, and perhaps they themselves would consider that as a possible career path, and look for more information on how to take the certification course. But as I developed the course, I found that this idea, although great, would be a bit more labor intensive with the time constraints that I had. And this was more than I could handle during the course of this class. But I did not totally abandon this idea. It's my intention to eventually create a Spanish version of this course on my own. For the purposes of this edX course, as I did my research, I found that other disciplines who may have limited educations like housekeeping, dietary, laundry, and unit aides, they may benefit, and other disciplines such as nursing and rehab should also understand how important their role is and how their role affects the quality of life of the elderly in the community they serve. The basic information presented in this micro lesson seemed ideal for the onboarding process as the new employee receives their orientation. And this would be a 2-week sensitivity training that would enable the learners to gain an increased understanding of person-centered care as it relates to their responsibilities, their work responsibilities, to make sure that they make a positive contribution to the lives of the elders they serve. The introductory course will detail the requirements of certification for the activity professional. It will focus on the interdisciplinary process and its impact on quality of life issues in a long-term care setting, will help the individual determine activity preferences of the elder and how to facilitate a positive social connection, thereby increasing quality of life. The terminal learning objective is to enable the learner to become familiar with different types of person-centered programming, and at the end of the course, the learner will determine the certification requirements for an activity professional. And the enabling objectives involve the learner being able to identify their own activity preferences to increase empathy or awareness of the quality of life issues that may affect the population they serve. They will describe how interdisciplinary involvement in quality of life issues affect the elders in a long-term care environment. They will describe what quality of life means to the elder in long-term care, and will describe how the activity preferences of the elder can be incorporated into the life of the community, and how scheduled activities can be communicated to those living within the long-term care community. And the course can be taken by a variety of staff. So with regards to the course sequencing, there'll be 3 modules. Our first module speaks about certification for activity professionals. There'll be a brief overview, which will be discussed during a podcast that's embedded in the LMS. And then there is the second module, which is called What is Quality of Life? And it opens with an introductory video and is followed by another video which is animated, and that was created in Powtoon. Then you have an exercise and discussion which takes place through Padlet, and that's called What Does Quality of Life Mean to Me? And here the learner describes 5 things that they cannot live without, things that are extremely meaningful to them. And so then the learners will be able to define what quality of life is in long-term care and explore what that means in an interactive module after that. And that was created using Captivate. The last module, module 3, is called Quality of Life in Long-Term Care. And here the objective is to describe what quality of life means to the elder. And this will involve identifying the 5 components of a successful activity schedule designed to meet the needs of the elderly population. And we'll do this through a discussion, again, utilizing Padlet, where the learner will identify the 5 components of a successful activity schedule. And this will lead to the final assignment, which is to create an activity schedule using those 5 components. This course, as I said, was hosted in an LMS. It's a Talent LMS, and it is a self-paced independent study that should not be taken for more than 2 weeks. It would be rather difficult for staff to engage in a course as a new hire for much longer than that. The course includes multiple choice quizzes, knowledge checks at different points during the course, and there'll be a class survey at the end, backwards design, which allowed me to start with my desired outcome, which in essence was to raise awareness of the existence of activity certification and its benefits with regards to person-centered care and how that affects the staff working in a long-term care environment. There are lots of things that I think I would have done differently as I went through the design and development of this course. I think I would have been more aware of the aesthetics of the course in general, as each piece that I submitted would have had a more consistent feel and look. I would have done all of my assignments in the same style so that when it was time to put all of the pieces together, that they actually look like they all belong together in the same micro lesson. I also wish there was more functionality in the LMS, the Talent LMS. There were a lot of formatting issues that I could not resolve. So I ended up doing the whole course over again and inserted PDFs where I could to escape that problem. And I really wanted to try Articulate Storyline instead of Captivate. But because I have a Mac and not a Windows laptop, I opted for Captivate with the idea that because it was cheaper in price, I would be more apt to invest in that tool. But I found that Captivate, which just came out with a new version, was very limited, and I tried my best to like it, but only found myself disappointed that I could not do more with it. So I am definitely looking forward to trying my hand at Storyline so that I can compare. What I enjoyed most was putting together the videos, and that is something I will continue to do. I would love to try Camtasia out. For now, I'm able to meet my needs with iMovie or OBS. It's very easy to use, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Plus it's free. I think when it's time for me to require more functionality in a screencast tool, I will definitely try Camtasia. And yeah, that's it. I hope this final presentation meets all the criteria, and I look forward to continuing to learn more about instructional design. This is a new career path for me that I did not know existed last year, which is why I signed up with edX to learn more. And now that I'm done, I hope to go on to new and exciting experiences in the field of instructional design. Thank you.